In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a handstand drill using a bolster and a yoga block. This particular drill is really great to help you connect to your core and your rib alignment because when you're in handstand, you want to be able to draw your ribs in when you're upside down, and that can be really challenging for most people to connect to and to figure out that alignment. And so when we have a physical thing that is touching the area of our body that we need to connect with, that can help you get into the alignment that you want. So, in terms of the setup with your bolster and yoga block, you can adjust the height of the bolster. So, you can add another yoga block if you're quite tall or if you have long arms, or if you're shorter, you can also take out the yoga block. But ideally, when you kick up into a handstand, you want the bolster to be able to land around here on your back. So you should feel it touch. And when you kick up, something that I will point out is that it will feel a little different than your typical handstand because your gaze will have to be shifted and dropped. So you won't be actually looking at your hands like you normally are in your handstand. So keep that in mind. It might take a few tries to get yourself up. I recommend playing with kicking up on the softer side first because you are very close to the wall with this drill, and the wall will come a lot quicker than you think. So, in terms of hand placement with this drill, again, you can kind of gauge that for yourself. I like to have my hands as close to the block or as close to the bolster as I can because the closer you have your hands to the bolster, the more aligned you're going to be from wrist to shoulder. Versus if you have your hands a little bit further away from the bolster, you're going to have to lean your shoulders forwards towards your fingertips more to be able to get your back onto the bolster. And that can be more challenging to hold in your shoulders as well as in your wrists. So, depending on what you need to do based off of your body, you can adjust your hands. And I'll show you what I mean in terms of hand placement and what that would look like if I place my hands in different spots. But for now, for this first one, I'll start with my hands closer to the bolster. And regardless of where your hands are, you have to get your back to the bolster. And so that's what I mean by saying that it's probably going to feel a little bit different than your typical handstand because there will probably be a little bit of a lean forwards to be able to get your back onto the bolster. So you might not feel like your usual stack if you were to do a handstand in other ways. So I'll take my hands down, shoulder distance apart like normal. And then from here, I'll drop my head. I'll set myself up to kick up just as I normally would. And then from here, I like to kick up first before I bring my back to the bolster, but some people prefer to start with their back on the bolster and then kick up. So if I were to start with my back on the bolster, I would shift my upper back and the back of my head to touch the bolster already. And you can see how my shoulders had to lean forwards a little bit more to get there versus if I just started here with my head dropped. So from here, I'm going to kick myself up, find the wall, and then lean my shoulders forwards, bring the back of my spine onto the bolster. So what you're trying to feel is the back of your rib area. So instead of arching like this, you want to press the backs of your ribs into the bolster as much as you can at the same time as pressing the floor away. And if you feel that connection, you're scooping your tailbone, squeezing your butt, then you can try and float your legs off of the wall to try and balance here as well. So as you can see with this drill, I pressed the back of my ribs into the bolster as much as I could. So you can think bra line area, that's what you really want to connect to. And you want to squish the bolster as much as you can. And if you feel like when you're up there, you're not able to squish the bolster, then you have to question while you're up there, what needs to happen in my body to be able to make that happen. The more you elevate and push through your shoulders, the more space you're going to have to draw your ribs in. Hence my cue while I was up there, drawing in as you push the floor away. If you stay here heavy in your shoulders, your ribs aren't going to be able to draw in the way you want them to. So make sure you have that push up as much as you can, as well as that sucking in through your rib area, like someone's trying to punch you in the ribs. So now I'll just show you what that looks like with my hands just a little bit further away. Again, when your hands are further away, it's going to be more in your wrists, more in your shoulders. You're going to get tired faster. So say I'll start about here, and then I'll kick myself up as I normally do, tuck my head, lean into the bolster, press the floor away, hollow out my upper body, tuck my tailbone, squeeze my butt, and then try and peel my feet off of the wall. So you can see how my shoulders are more closed and there's more load in my shoulders and wrists in this position. So if you have tighter shoulders, I recommend having your hands a little bit further away to start. Or if you're having trouble kicking up to the wall and staying on the wall with your hands closer to the bolster, then you can play with starting with your hands a little bit further back until you get the feel for it. And then you can adjust by taking your hands a little bit closer, or alternatively, you can start with your hands a little bit further away, kick yourself up, and then walk your hands in a little bit so that you're closer to the bolster, and then lean into it from there. So to recap, this drill is really, really great to help you connect to your rib area because it gives you a tangible point of contact of where you need to actually connect to, and it gives you a little bit more support in comparison to, say, a freestanding handstand or maybe other handstand drills, in terms of it can help you learn how to hold and engage that area while playing with a little bit of balance by taking your feet off the wall. So in order of priority, get yourself up onto the wall, figure out where you want your hands to go, what works for you. Ideally, closer is better. And then once you're able to get yourself up there, push through your shoulders, so elevate, and then bring your spine onto the bolster and focus on drawing your ribs in and squishing the bolster into the wall as much as possible while your feet stay on the wall. Once you're able to connect to that engagement, then you lock that in and then try to bring your feet off of the wall. But don't try to bring your feet off of the wall right away or before you connect to that, because it'll be harder to find that engagement, which is the biggest priority with this drill, if your feet are off the wall before. So keep that in mind when you play with this drill. And eventually, the more you get used to engaging your ribs and core in this place, then it will help you translate that into the middle of the room.